Hey everybody, welcome back to another Class with Jarren episode. I am Jarren and this is Tech Talks. Today we're going to be talking about stories and the story behind stories. So a couple of years ago, Snapchat announced stories, and it was basically a way for people to share their snaps with multiple people in a more public setting. Although they're ephemeral posts, so they were deleted after 24 hours. And they were widely successful. And during this time, Facebook was having a difficult time getting into that market share. A lot of Facebook's users were older. They weren't really targeted towards the youth of the nation anymore. And during that time, Facebook realized that they needed to get involved in that. They actually released a competing app called Poke, and it was around for a very short time because no one used it. So it seemed like it was all over in terms of competition for Facebook when it came to that Snapchat market share. And then Facebook began to buy a couple of other companies, namely Instagram for $1 billion and WhatsApp for $19 billion. WhatsApp was a huge acquisition, and the reason they picked that up was because at the time, Messenger wasn't very popular, especially outside the United States. So they wanted to make sure that their 500 million users that were using WhatsApp in other countries were then consolidated into the Facebook environment. So even though it remains a separate entity, it is still part of that little world. Instagram and WhatsApp both now have stories. Facebook added stories to WhatsApp, or they're called status, a status there. Then they added stories to Instagram, and then they added stories to Messenger and the default Facebook app. So now there are 4 different apps in the Facebook ecosystem that have stories. And then you also have Snapchat, which has stories as well. Now it's very clear that this entire process was Facebook's goal to get Snapchat's user base, because that user base doesn't actually use Facebook. A lot of people started using Snapchat and Instagram, and that's it. So Facebook did the next best thing, and they bought Instagram and then added stories. So now there are people kind of competing with Snapchat in that same marketplace, but from a slightly different angle, because people don't really use Snapchat for the same thing that they use Instagram for. Will that change? It might, but it hasn't. Not yet, anyway. And the people that are using Snapchat are pretty tied to Snapchat. Snapchat has had, for the longest time, some exclusive filters that you could put on your face, the masks. The entire relationship that users have with Snapchat comes down to relationships on a very unprofessional level. It's a casual place. Everyone likes the casual relationship that you can have through Snapchat. Whereas if you go to Instagram, things are a little bit more posh. They need to be focused on, okay, I'm posting this Instagram photo that I'm going to take 5 times just to make sure it's right. And then when I upload my stories, it's going to be a little bit more of a thought out process. People don't do that so much on Snapchat. People just tend to be more casual on Snapchat. But the ultimate question is, why did Facebook add stories to every single app they have? So first, of course, we have that market share, that user base of people that Snapchat has that Facebook didn't. Understandable. But they also had something else going on in the background the entire time. Facebook just had their F8 conference. During that time, Mark Zuckerberg talked about augmented reality, and he was very, very focused on the addition of cameras and stories to every single app in the Facebook ecosystem.
For those of you who watched us roll out cameras across all our apps, and you wondered what we might have been doing, that was Act 1.
The reason being because they're adding filters, just like the masks, and additional 3D environmental filters that use augmented reality to every single app. At least that's their goal. Their goal is to bring augmented reality to the Facebook ecosystem and be the first place that uses augmented reality as a basis for the future. Their goal is to bring augmented reality to the Facebook ecosystem through the use of stories and start building an augmented reality world built over our real world. So sure, you'll have the masks that they've opened to private beta right now, so people can actually go in and develop masks for Facebook's platform. But then on top of that, they've added augmented reality for landscapes and for locations. So you'll be able to walk to a park and see something that someone has placed there. You'll be able to see artwork on the side of buildings right from your phone. And this is incredible technology. This is something that wasn't really possible until phones became more powerful. Now the phones are more powerful, and AI is a little bit more powerful in terms of image processing. We can see what's going on, we can track our environment, and then we can actually put in augmented reality objects. And this is way farther than Pokemon Go. This is not just placing something in one spot based on if your camera sees an object. That's very lightweight. This is more in depth. This is based on location, not just the location of a Pokemon in a general park. This is looking at one face of a building versus the other face of a building. This is, if you are 3 feet away, it's actually going to be at a different angle because you're placing augmented reality objects in your world. Now, it may sound a little ridiculous going from stories and Facebook's addition of stories to all of their apps, all the way to augmented reality and building a virtual world, but in all honesty, it makes sense. The biggest change in the past couple of years to technology has been the addition of mobile phones. Mobile phones changed the way people interact with technology, with the internet, with their environments that are electronic and digital. And in the same way, augmented reality is going to change that. Eventually, people will just be wearing glasses that will overlay an entire digital environment over their physical environment. That's going to happen. That will happen. Absolutely it will. It's going to take time. And so Facebook knows that they want to be at the forefront of building that virtual environment. They may not be publicly competing with the hardware, like the Microsoft HoloLens, but they are now publicly competing for the augmented reality world that will exist through the use of stories added to Facebook, Messenger, which is almost its complete separate social network now, Instagram, and of course WhatsApp. Now Instagram and WhatsApp may be a little bit smaller during that entire process, but Facebook and Messenger in itself have a lot of power. People use them actively, and if you haven't noticed, the sizes of the apps have increased drastically from 100 megabytes to 400 megabytes over the course of the past couple of months, because they're moving in all of this new technology to help bring augmented reality to your world through the use of stories. It's going to be interesting to see how this progresses. Now, this is very early on in the process. We're just now seeing the beginnings of augmented reality being pushed into the average consumer's life daily. That's new. That hasn't happened before. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes in the next couple of years. And not only the next couple of years, but the foreseeable future. And what I mean is the world to come. I have another series that I'm starting called The World to Come, and it's all about the distant future. So not the next 5 years, but maybe the next 20 years, the next 40 years. So if you're interested in seeing that series, you should definitely subscribe to this channel, Class with Jarren, and I will be bringing a lot of that information about augmented reality, self-driving cars, artificial intelligence, and so much more in that series to come very soon. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, you should leave a like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Jarren, and I'll see you next time.